It's Jets Weekly with your host, Connor Hrabchak.
Hello everyone, welcome back to another edition of Winnipeg Jets Weekly. My name is Connor Hrabchak. On today's episode, we're going to cover the past week of play for the Winnipeg Jets, starting with that Vancouver game on Tuesday, through the week, and wrapping up with the Buffalo Sabres game on Sunday. Of course, along the way, I'm going to hand out some awards, my hardest working Jet of the week, along with my 3 stars of the week, before previewing the upcoming schedule for the Winnipeg Jets. It's going to be a fun episode. Let's kick it off, starting with that Vancouver Canucks game on Tuesday night. The Winnipeg Jets started the week off with a tough loss to the Vancouver Canucks, a 6-2 loss inside Rogers Arena, and the Jets simply put got carved off the rush in this game. There were multiple instances where the Jets turned the puck over in the neutral zone, didn't have enough numbers back, and the Canucks were able to capitalize. Connor Hellebuyck giving up 5 goals on 21 shots, one of his worst save percentage performances of the season, but there were a lot of high danger chances thrown his way, especially off the rush, and the Jets couldn't keep up with a Canucks team that looked desperate. They're fighting for their playoff lives. The Jets, in the middle of a road trip, didn't have that same desperation that the Canucks did, and ultimately they came out on the wrong side of this one, 6-2 in the middle of their 3-game road trip. This game is also a perfect example of how a few bounces one way or the other can completely shift the outcome of a game. Middle of the second period, the Canucks were up 3-2. Mark Scheifele got absolutely robbed on a cross-crease opportunity by Kevin Lankinen. Just seconds later, Nikolai Ehlers hit the crossbar on a rush chance, and then the Canucks rattled off 2 quick goals, extending their lead to 5-2, and at that point, the game was all but over. If one of those 2 chances goes in for the Winnipeg Jets, maybe we're talking about a better outcome in this one, but the Canucks were opportunistic when they could, especially so off the rush, and they got the win, a much needed one in their season on Tuesday night in Vancouver. One last note on this game, I actually had the pleasure of being out there in Vancouver covering this game on the road, and I have to give a shout out to the Jets fans who either made the trip out or live in Vancouver and went to this game. I got a video of the True North chant during the anthems, and it was probably the loudest road True North I have ever heard, either on TV or in person. Here's that video now. To close out the 3-game road trip, the Jets bounced back with a 4-3 overtime win over the Edmonton Oilers, who by the end of this game were without Leon Draisaitl, Connor McDavid, and Stuart Skinner. I'll get into that in just a second here, but it was the Jets coming away with this one. Kyle Connor in overtime, his 37th goal of the season, and really just a sloppy game from start to finish from both teams. The Jets 0-for-4 on the power play. Their power play didn't bail them out. They had a golden opportunity late in the third with 2.5 minutes left when Edmonton took a penalty. Unable to convert, this game went to overtime, but like I said, Mark Scheifele, Kyle Connor, Josh Morrissey doing what they do best in 3-on-3 OT, finishing this one early on. Now the Edmonton Oilers, they came into this game without Leon Draisaitl. He's currently out with an injury. Connor McDavid was a question mark coming in and injured himself late in the second period and did not return for the third and overtime, and he is being reevaluated. And then Stuart Skinner, a collision late in the third period. The concussion spotter pulled him out of the game. Backup goaltender Calvin Pickard came in for the last 5 minutes and overtime. So without their starting goaltender and top 2 centers, 2 of the top players in the world, the Oilers came up just short in overtime. But it was the Jets bouncing back, closing out their 3-game road trip with a 2-1 record, 2 of those wins coming in overtime, and a much needed 2 points at this time of the season coming off of Kyle Connor's stick in overtime. And that brings us to Sunday. Now, I could go a few different directions with this game recap, but I'll start with maybe the obvious. In a race for the 1 seed in the Central Division in the Western Conference, home games against the Buffalo Sabres are ones that you absolutely have to have, and the Jets did not have it on this night, dropping this one 5-3. And later on in the season, if the Jets aren't able to secure that 1 seed in the Central Division, this is a game that we're going to look back on as a missed opportunity for 2 points against one of the worst teams in the Eastern Conference in the Buffalo Sabres. Now, on the flip side of that, the Winnipeg Jets absolutely dominated this game, and James Reimer, the goaltender for the Sabres, played maybe his best performance of the entire season. The scoring chances were 32-9 in the Jets' favor. The expected goals, almost 4 for Winnipeg to 1.7 for Buffalo. These stats are courtesy of Natural Stat Trick. Shots on goal, 36-17, and the power plays were even at 1 for 3 apiece. The Jets absolutely got goalied in this game. And yes, at the end of the season, if they're unable to get that 1 seed, this is one of the games that we will look back on 100%. But I thought they played pretty well for the majority of this game, if not the entire 60 minutes, and ran into an extremely hot goaltender, at least in this game. Did they make some mistakes? Absolutely. Did Eric Comrie have his best game of the year? Absolutely not. But the Jets still played pretty well, in my opinion, and ultimately got goalied in this one. It still stings losing at home to the Buffalo Sabres, and that is one we will look back on if the Jets are in a tight race down the stretch for that 1 seed. Now's the time of the episode where I hand out some awards, my hardest working Jet and my 3 stars of the week. But before we do that, make sure you hit the like button down below, hit that subscribe so you don't miss all of the great content we've got coming out on this channel in the coming weeks and into the playoffs. And while you're down there, drop a comment. Who's your first star of the week for the Winnipeg Jets? Let's get right into it, starting with the hardest working Jet.
The hardest working Jet.
My hardest working Jet of the week is a guy who's won it a few times this season. It's Morgan Barron. Now, ever since the trade deadline, he's moved into the middle on that 4th line in between Brandon Tanev and Alex Iafallo. And in the short time they've been together, that line has formed an identity. They're a great forechecking trio. They're in on pucks. They're cycling the puck. They're even generating chances and suppressing chances at their own end. And they've become a great energy line for Scott Arniel and the Winnipeg Jets coaching staff. And Morgan Barron going from winger in the first half of the season to center so seamlessly, that deserves praise, and he is one of those great forecheckers in the Winnipeg Jets bottom 6, and for that, he is my hardest working Jet of the week.
And now, the Jets Weekly 3 stars of the week.
My 3rd star of the week is Josh Morrissey. In my opinion, his best game of the week was Thursday night against the Edmonton Oilers. He had a goal in that game that tied it up 2-2 at the time, and it was classic Josh Morrissey jumping up into the rush at the perfect time, getting behind the Oilers defense and scoring his 11th of the year. And then he played a big part in overtime as well, doing a spin move in his own zone to get away from the Oilers defender, set up Mark Scheifele, who set up Kyle Connor for the game winner. And Josh Morrissey, he's consistent. We know night in, night out that he is this team's best defenseman, and that was no different this week. He's my 3rd star of the week. My 2nd star of the week is Nikolai Ehlers. Now, he had 2 goals this week. The first one came against Vancouver. That one opened the scoring for the Jets in that game. And then the second one was against the Buffalo Sabres, cutting the lead to 4-3, a move we have seen many times from Nikolai Ehlers, coming down the wing, winding up for the slap shot, and blowing one past the glove hand of James Reimer. Nikolai Ehlers and Vladislav Nemeskov and Cole Perfetti on that second line have maybe been the Jets' best line since the Four Nations break. All 3 of those players have seemingly elevated their games since then, and Nikolai Ehlers is obviously at the center of it all. He is my 2nd star of the week. My 1st star of the week is Kyle Connor. He had the overtime winner on Thursday night against the Edmonton Oilers, giving the Jets their only win of the week. He also had 7 shots on goal in that game and was easily the Jets' most dangerous forward in that one. So for that, he's my 1st star of the week. He's got 37 goals, 49 assists, and 86 points through 71 games so far this season. He's having one of the, if not the best season of his career, and those overtime winners are coming up so clutch. Every single time the Jets go into OT, it seems like Kyle Connor is the one ending it, and that was no different on Thursday night against the Edmonton Oilers. Kyle Connor is my 1st star of the week. Let's now quickly dive into the Winnipeg Jets' upcoming schedule, which is full of some great games, none greater than Tuesday night, number 1 in the West versus number 1 in the East, the Winnipeg Jets against the Washington Capitals, and we all remember what happened the last time these two teams met, probably the game of the year for the Winnipeg Jets, winning 5-4 in overtime, Josh Morrissey with the OT winner. That game was electric from start to finish, and I would expect nothing less on Tuesday night inside Canada Life Center. That brings us to Friday. The Jets welcome the New Jersey Devils to town. The Devils are currently in a playoff spot in the East, and this is our final game of the year for our Winnipeg Sports Talk Game of the Month ticket pack as we look to go undefeated over the course of the entire season. Can't wait to see all of you WSTers down there at the rink. That should be a great game and a great atmosphere on a Friday night inside the building. Then on Sunday, the Jets will wrap up their 4-game homestand against the Vancouver Canucks, who, as I covered earlier in this episode, lost to them 6-2 last last Tuesday. So looking for some revenge there, and a team that will be playing desperate, playing for their playoff lives. The Jets will then hit the road, playing against the LA Kings on April 1st to kick off a little bit of a road trip. But I will be back next Monday covering those 3 home games against the Capitals, the Devils, and the Canucks on the next episode of Winnipeg Jets Weekly. That is going to do it for this edition of Winnipeg Jets Weekly. Thank you so much for making it all the way to the end of the video. If you enjoy this type of content, make sure you hit the like button down below, hit that subscribe, and hit the notification bell so you don't miss Winnipeg Jets Weekly every single Monday morning. I break down the week that was for the Jets, hand out the awards, preview the upcoming schedule, and we have a blast doing it. So hit that notification bell so you don't miss the episodes going forward. I'll see you all next Monday breaking down those 3 great home games for the Jets, wrapping up the homestand, and previewing the upcoming road trip. Enjoy the games this week, and I'll see you all next Monday.